911. What
Whoa, 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 everybody. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. It's real vile time, baby. That's right. It's your old pal, Mr. Germ T. Ripper, along with the Prime Minister, the sinister, ruthless Chris. Say hi, Chris.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop, indeed. All right. And of course, we can't get the show going without the Tower of the Hour herself. Kelli, the Killer Miller. Say what's up to the people at home in real Violand, Kelli.
Hey, ghouls.
Girls, ghouls.
I need to work on an intro.
Or not.
Workshop that
Or not. This works too.
Yeah, it works. It twerks too.
It twerks.
Anywho, so yeah, things have been wild. Things have been crazy. We've been plowing through life itself, and it's very exciting that on this episode we have a guest, Mr. Fred Vogel, the king of extreme, the king of underground, Mr. Toe Tag Pictures himself. You know him best from the August Underground trilogy of found footage snuff films, but we are actually going to be talking mostly about his latest film, The Final Interview. So we're very excited about to have Fred on this episode. But in the meantime, what have you been up to, guys? Ruthless Chris, you first.
I haven't been up to a whole lot this week. Kelli and I watched some movies the other day. We're going to a rap show tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tickets went on sale for the King of the Kill deathmatch tournament. We sold out of the fronts in a day. I'm very proud of that. So if you want to go, get your tickets. We're going to start rolling people out for that. It's looking like we're gonna have a big fun summer coming up of a bunch of like good bands and music. We got Mr. Bungle tickets coming up. Really excited about that.
Hell yeah.
Cynic, it's one of my favorite bands, number one on my bucket list. I never thought I'd see live. So I'm really excited for what's going on. Yeah. Been having a lot of great times. We've been getting out of the house a lot more, doing shit.
Yeah. Ever since me and my boyfriend broke up, like I've been getting out a lot more.
Do we get to tell the story yet or no?
No.
Okay.
I shouldn't
Later
tell
date.
the story. I shouldn't tell the story.
It's so funny.
No.
We don't want him to get.
I'm not gonna
pissed
do
off
him like that.
or
Even though he's never once listened to this podcast, he wouldn't fucking hear it. Anyway, but besides that, I don't know. Shit's been better. Shit's been great. I'm fucking looking forward to being alone and happy again.
Well, all right, here's to being alone and happy.
Not necessarily.
I also want to mention that is a very cool Toxic Avenger baseball shirt from Creepy Co., a company straight out of Chicago.
I should have grabbed the pillow I got too. It's in the other room.
Yes, I'm a big fan of Creepy Co., a Chicago-owned independent nerd attire and collectibles.
Shipping was so fast too, man. This came like the next day. And I got a badass Batboy rug for my kitchen.
Yes, nice people, good company. Highly recommend. And that's a cool shirt. You look great in it. Me, myself, and I've been, just doing my thing. My husband went away for a few days. I went to anniversary party for, for my class, working for the city. And then the next day I went to a wrestling show, my home promotion, POW, P-O-W-W, Purely Obsessive Wrestling World, and I get to, get a little ring time, do a promo for our Pride show in June that I'm going to be ring announcing, emceeing, hosting, so that's exciting. I even named the show, called You Better Work, because I took the name from the RuPaul Supermodel of the World, how she opens the song with "You Better Work," and I thought it had a cool double entendre with wrestling, a work and everything. So I'm glad I suggested it. I'm glad they liked it, and we're running with it. But let's get this terror train on the road so that we can get Fred Vogel in here. What have you guys been watching? It'll start with you, Ruthless Chris. What have you been watching, baby?
So I'm going to talk about a movie I watched today that I had never seen before, and boy, did I have a good time with it. This is The Rift from 1990. It stars Ray Weiss, who I decided today is the indie horror world's Steve Buscemi because he pops up in everything, and he's great, always great. And it also had Arlie Ermy, who is like the drill sergeant in every movie, like, but everyone knows him from Full Metal Jacket. This was a fun little, I think it was a full moon movie. I think it's a Corman movie. I'm not positive on that. Not directed, but produced. This was a co-Spanish and English, or American, made film. So it's really strange that like half the cast for no reason, have Spanish accents and the other half do not. It's really strange. But, this is, kind of this, movie Aliens, but underwater. They definitely rip off some scenes like completely from it, but it is a lot of fun. It's got some fun special effects. The monsters were really cool. We basically got an experimental sub, and they almost like Event Horizon. They get the guy who made the first sub to come and jump in this second sub that's a replica of the first sub to go look for what happened to this first sub. And they find out it goes to this rift. There's water monsters. This is heavy aquatic horror. But it is heavily ripping off Aliens. So much so that you remember that scene in Aliens where all the aliens were coming out of the walls, and you could see like their body cams and like their heartbeat monitors were going down, and like, you know, the guy in the control booth like, they do that, but it's with like tendril monsters and stuff like that. But they still have the guy in the control booth. It's Eli Ermy, and he's got like the heart rate monitors and the controls. Like they really ripped it off kind of heavy, but. A lot of good gore, a lot of good special effects. This thing was a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. I watched it on Tubi. I would give this a high 3 stars. 1990. This made by the same guy who made Pieces and Slugs, so if it tells you what kind of movie it is.
Ooh,
yeah.
I love Slugs.
I think I talked about Slugs on a earlier episode. I don't remember if it was Real Vile or Mouse Madness, but one of them.
I know we talked about blend together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. What was the name of the one again, Chris?
The Rift. You apparently have watched it because you rated it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd.
Oh my goodness gracious gravy. I guess I should know what you're talking about then. I feel like maybe it was when I was still drinking, who knows? Either that or I just watch way too many movies and I can't keep track of things.
There are like a million of these style like alien ripoff movies, so I mean I could see why it would blend, you know.
But 3 stars, The Rift, and it's on Tubi. Great to know. So if you haven't seen The Rift, check it out. Sounds like a fun time to be had by all. And moving the terror train along, Killer Kelli, what you got, baby?
Oh man, yesterday me and Chris watched the most ridiculous shit that we found on Tubi. This one is super hybrid. 2010. It is directed by Eric Vellet. He was also directed.
Probably a valet now. Anyway, go on.
Well, he also directed One Missed Call. But this movie, holy fucking shit, man. This one, all right, the cover looked like you were going into something like a Christine sort of movie, you know? Super hybrid. We look at it, we see that it's year 2010, and we're like, were fucking hybrid cars even created yet? Like, no, I don't think so. So we're like, all right, let's see what their version of a hybrid car is. We get into this thing. It's basically about murderous shape-shifting cars that have tendrils that are fighting.
Predator vision.
He said a team of X-Men style mechanics. I say more like Ripley and like, you know, the crew from Alien. Either way, there's a bunch of badass mechanics fighting this car.
I take it. There are a bunch of Kevin McAllisters from Home Alone because the last half of this movie is them literally making like homemade traps.
Have you guys ever heard of Burmese
Punjabi tiger pit?
Burmese tiger pit. Oh man. Okay, this movie is fucking ridiculous, but goddamn if it's not entertaining. Like, I mean, after that description, how can it not be? The car will shapeshift from Well, this all takes place in a garage in what, Chicago? It was Chicago.
Yeah, they made it abundantly clear
Yeah.
that this took place in Chicago because all right, so the opening scene is in the streets. The rest of it is in you can tell they filmed it in the parking garage because there's levels and you know what a parking garage looks like. One way goes up, the way goes down, there's pillars and parking spots. But it's supposed to be like a mechanic's place, and they do that by leaning a couple stop signs against a wall.
Yeah.
But they pepper in this outside shot just to remind you it's Chicago. It says really big on the front of the building, like Chicago mechanic office or some shit. Go on.
But it's utterly ridiculous. Basically, they're like alien fucking cars fighting the mechanics, and
the thing about the car could shapeshift to help
other
it with
cars.
like if it needs to be a thinner car to like get through, and it'll just turn into that car, or like it turns into Volkswagen, like a mom.
It like lures people into it sometimes too. Like it'll show up as this like super badass sports car. These like in the beginning, these kids go to steal it. They get in and like the doors won't open. Like the fucking handles disappeared and everything. And I don't know. I guess the tentacles came out and crushed their heads.
The car also has predator vision, which is
yes.
This imagine if Knight Rider didn't have a driver and it was an alien and it wanted to kill people, but they never explained why. This thing was absolutely watchable. It was so watchable, like it shouldn't have been as entertaining as it was. I had a fucking blast with this thing. Like I was laughing and hooting and hollering the whole time.
For as stupid of a storyline and shit it was, like the production of it wasn't terrible. The acting was. Oh. The acting was pretty bad. The dialogue was pretty fucking bad, but like the production was not bad.
I didn't even think the dialogue was that bad. It was just cheesy. Like the acting was fine.
Yeah. You had like that main badass fucking Ripley girl. The main badass mechanic who you called right off the rip. You're like,
I called so many things in this movie before they happened. It was unbelievable. But I give this one 3.5.
I give it a 3.
And it's called Hybrid?
Super Hybrid.
Super Hybrid. And you can find it on Tubi, right?
Absolutely.
3.5. Super Hybrid on Tubi. Very cool. Very exciting. The first movie I'm going to talk about is a 2014 movie. I don't know why, but I feel like it was filmed in Canada. But the only full-length movie by director Matt O'Mahony, and it is a movie called Bloody Knuckles. This thing reminded me a lot like if Kevin Smith were to direct Idle Hands. If you remember that 90s horror comedy, Idle Hands.
Yeah, I love Idle Hands.
But like the dialogue and the setting and like the main protagonist being a comic book writer definitely made me think of Kevin Smith. But it's about a comic book artist and he like doesn't write like a normal comic book. It's like extremely graphic, extremely offensive comic book. He upsets a Yakuza crime lord. And this crime lord doesn't like this comic book, so he cuts the guy's hand off. Well, the hand comes back to life and wants revenge, and the hand wants to keep writing this comic book. Now we're not sure how the hand came back to life or why except to get revenge, and then it teams up with a gay superhero that the comic book artist created, who wears like a leather mask and harness, and it turns into this bloody, crude, gory, in-your-face horror comedy. I had always seen this movie on the shelf, like at used record shops and such, and I'd always thought about purchasing it. I never did. I think I may now, just because it's right up my alley. You know what I mean? But it is streaming for free on Pluto and on Tubi, and I'll give it 3 stars. 3 stars for the gore, 3 stars for the offensive humor. If you're easily offended, you might want to pass on this one. But if you are a fan of things like Kevin Smith, of Trauma, of Idle Hands, then you should probably check out Bloody Knuckles, because it's a fun ride, and it's definitely something for the sick and twisted punk rock DIY type folks. Have either of you guys seen this movie?
No, I've heard of it though. I think I've passed it up a few times in the streaming services, but I know what I can picture the cover. Yeah.
How about you, Chris?
I have not. I have not.
Cool. Well, I give it 3 stars. It's on Tubi. Check it out. And we're going to keep this train a rocking and rolling. Ruthless Chris, what do you got to talk about next?
Ironically enough, this one kind of would fit in well with people that do enjoy the August Underground movies. I watched a movie. It has I found it under 2 different titles. Most of the time you find it here in the U.S. under Snowtown or under the Snowtown Murders. This is an Australian movie based on a true crime. It basically follows the story of a young teenager, and I will give you the warning. I mean, if you're here, you're here probably for Fred Vogel, so you're used to this kind of shitty way. But this is an extremely graphic and really disturbing movie, especially knowing everything that is happening is true, because they do not deviate or take any liberties with the story. Everything that happened in real life happened in this movie. But basically, you have a teenager and his brother. They're with a single mother who's dating a man that lives across the street. The man is babysitting them, and he ends up basically, taking pictures of them naked, molesting them, doing all this bad shit, right? They tell the mother about it. The mother ends up confiding into this guy. The guy takes it upon himself to run the guy out of the neighborhood. He ends up like chopping up a bunch of kangaroos and throwing its guts on the porch, and like revving his motorcycle all out to the hour in the driveway, throwing like garbage and shit all over the doors. Run this guy out of the neighborhood. Everyone treats him like this hero, right? So then it kind of morphs into him and his friends turning into this like vigilante, what they're scoping as they're like pedophile hunters. In their mind, justifying what they do, but what they're basically doing is just murdering the dick out of all these people that they believe are either homosexuals or pedophiles or anything that they feel is deviant or not of their values, and they end up bringing these children into it. They even murder the kid's brother and make him take part in it. And they were melting all these people down in these vats of acid that they were keeping at this bank that they were renting, this abandoned bank. And it's the story of that. It's very unflinching. It's very hard to watch at times. Super disturbing. This is only going to really appeal to true crime junkies or like people that really can handle a more extreme film. With that being said, it's done extremely well. The performances are wonderful. Like it is wonderfully acted. This is an Australian film. With I said, if that doesn't bother you, I would definitely recommend this movie because it is a great piece of horror. Like it is disturbing. It will make your skin crawl, and watching it knowing that this all happened beat for beat, will really get to it. So I would recommend it with the caveat. It's not for everybody. It's more for people that have more of a rock gut and can handle, something a little more intense or true crime, like what we're going to be talking about later with Vogel. So with that, I'll give it 4 with those caveats.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that I have watched, but I'm sure that it was okay. I'm sure that I was drinking at the time because I don't remember too much of it, but I do remember that it was a good movie. So like I'm gonna go with 4 stars as well because I remember that I liked it, and I do like disturbing films. So, Kelly, have you seen?
I don't believe I have.
Is it still on Netflix or where's it streaming now?
It's on Tubi.
Tubi. Okay, because I remember when I saw it was on Netflix. But
I don't know which title it'll be under Tubi. I have it on DVD. My DVD says the Snowtown Murders on it, but everything I'm seeing, like I pulled up the IMDb to talk about like director and stuff. It says Snowtown, so it's one or the other. It's either Snowtown Murders or Snowtown.
Sweet. Yeah, if you're into true crime, if you're into grimy stuff, definitely check out that one. Keeping it going though, Killer Kelly, what do you got to talk about next?
I watched this new one that was just I think they just added it to Netflix. It was being marketed as a horror movie. I went into it completely blind. This is 2022 Soft and Quiet. It follows these ladies. they're getting together for some sort of event.
I would be careful how much of this you give away.
Yeah, I know. I'm not. I know. And they're getting together, for some sort of gathering for like a ladies' night, and you quickly find out what these ladies are all about. Well, the night kind of, I don't want to give it away. I don't want to give away what kind of people they are, but you'll fucking figure it out right off the rip. And, their shenanigans goes further and further throughout the night. Then it gets real fucking violent and pretty intense. There's a lot of racism in this movie. There is a rape scene. It was pretty brutal. It kept my attention through it all. Although I think it was kind of like anticlimactic I don't know. It was all right. It wasn't my favorite. Like, there wasn't a whole lot keeping you engaged other than like these women, their idea, like, what the fuck are these dumb bitches doing next? Like, are these bitches really going to do this? And then once they actually get to the point, it is pretty intense. I don't know. I'd give this movie, I guess a 3. I was going to say 2.5, but it deserves a little bit better than half. It was pretty well executed. And like I said, like, I put it in last night for something to fall asleep to, and it actually like woke me up more. I know. Like, I was like, well, I'm up now. Might as well fucking finish this one. And yeah, it was all right though. Super soft and quiet. There's really not a lot I can say without giving it away. Chris, you watched it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I'll point out about this movie that you might not have caught is the majority of the entire movie takes place in one take.
Oh shit!
Which makes it a lot more, something to commend with the intensity of the performances.
Yeah.
It is definitely a very performance-driven movie, but it will trigger a lot of people. There's a lot of subject matter that will really piss some people off.
Yeah.
With that being said, it's worth seeing. I liked it. I'll give it 3.5. I'll probably never watch it again.
Yeah, same. I give it a 3, but. It was really, it does get pretty intense. And you don't like the main characters that much. Like, they're a bunch of fucking dumb assholes. Like, you're rooting for, like, you stupid fucking bitches throughout this entire movie. That's all I can really say about it without giving it away. But it, like, seriously, the first 10 minutes, you'll be like, oh, okay. You'll get
cool.
it.
And this is Netflix, right? Soft and Quiet on Netflix.
Yep. Soft and Quiet, directed by Beth de Arajo? I don't know.
Oh, sounds promising. I'll definitely have to check that one out. Going second time around, I'm going to talk about 2010's instant cult classic. I bought this on DVD back when it first came out, directly from one of the stars. And I was excited when Severin came out with a collector's edition Blu-ray. It is Joshua Grinnell, otherwise known as Peaches Christ, film All About Evil. This film is it's a love letter to genre cult films of the past. Lots of references to Herschel Gordon Lewis, and you can't get enough of it because when I think about films that will incorporate murder into the show, like there's a show within a show, and I instantly think of like Herschel Gordon Lewis's Wizard of Gore.
Yeah.
And of course, like, this is a big influence on this film. There's posters for why am I drawing a blank? What's the big one that he's known for?
Herschel Gordon Lewis, Wizard of Gore, Blood Feast.
Blood Feast, yeah. There's lots of posters for Blood Feast throughout. And I mean, it's obvious that this film is also major league influenced by John Waters. It definitely feels like Cecil B. Demented, a lot of it. And the cast is crazy. It has Cassandra Peterson, a.k.a. Elvira's in it. And then, of course, Mink Stoll, like I said, who was in all of John Waters' films, plays one of the characters, and starring the main character is played by Natasha Lyonne.
Oh, nice.
This cast is amazing, and it's a really fun movie, really funny horror comedy. And it's about after inheriting her father's movie theater, a woman begins filming snuff films, which are screened as horror films to and she gets great like success from this. Until a high school student learns that the murders are real, and so there's wacky hijinks. There's a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor, and the kills are the punchline to the joke, just like a Herschel Gordon Lewis film. If you like John Waters, if you like Herschel Gordon Lewis, if you like campy, over-the-top gore, or if you know anything about Peaches Christ, the horror drag queen Cassandra Peterson, you have to see All About Evil. I give it 4.5 stars. I have the collector's edition Blu-ray from Severn Films, but it is streaming on Shudder and AMC Plus. Have either of you guys seen All About Evil?
I don't think I have.
Nope, I have not. But the name Peaches Christ rocks pretty hard.
Yeah.
I actually, when Peaches Christ and Ming Stoll were doing a tour together to help promote it, I got to interview them for Daily Grindhouse. So that was one of my claims to fame.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, everything you said, like everybody you referenced, Natasha Lyonne and the cast, and saying it's similar to anything John Waters or Troma, like all completely up my alley. I'll have to check this one out.
Yeah, definitely. Shudder, AMC Plus, do it. But let's keep this train rolling. Ruthless Chris, one more round, will you please?
All right, so I watched a Wes Craven movie I had never even heard of. I never even knew this movie existed. I was floating through Tubi, what to watch. Had a terrible cover, and I didn't even know it was Wes Craven's. A little description popped up. It's called Deadly Blessing from 1981.
I almost watched this too when I was
great cast in this thing too. It had like this has to be one of Sharon Stone's first movies. She's very young in it. Ernest Borgnine's in it. You got Michael Berryman in it. This movie has a little something for everybody. There's supernatural stuff, there's slasher stuff, there's shootouts, there's folklore. It's like he's just shoehorned a whole lot of stuff in this guy. But what you have is there's a couple that live on a farm. The husband dies under some very mysterious circumstances. The wife's family comes to stay with her, in her time of grieving, burying her husband, all that. There is this religious group in the area that are akin to like the Amish or the Mennonites. I forget the name they have for them. They came up with their own name for it. But it's they pretty much dress like they're Amish, and they're like that kind of lifestyle where there's no
like Mennonites or something.
And they're in the carts and buggies and stuff. And they believe that the barn at these people's house is haunted by an incubus. And they think that this barn, you don't go near this barn, all this stuff. And that spirals into a lot of weird murder. And like I said, it feels like a lot of things. Like there's things that I would say are a slasher movie in this. There's things I would say would come out of like a supernatural ghost story. There's definitely a lot of folk horror. With like the main impetus of this thing is an incubus, but like you're not even sure what the fuck the incubus is by the end of this thing. There's just so much weird stuff going on. It's definitely not his most concise movie. It definitely is very all over the place. But with that being said, it's very watchable, very fun. It's interesting to see like a 18, 19-year-old Sharon Stone, because you're not used to. That was before she was like popping up in like her main movie roles. So like it was interesting to see her that young, and before like she maybe has like honed her acting chops. Like it's always kind of fun to see like an actor like before they were somebody. With that being said, I really liked it. I'm definitely going to watch it again because I feel like I missed a lot because there was so much going on in it. But I gave it 3 stars. I really enjoyed it. I watched this on Tubi as well. Deadly Blessing.
Very cool. Have you seen this, Kelly?
No. A couple weeks ago, I stumbled across a Wes Craven one, and I started looking for more Wes Craven. So I've seen this on there, but I have yet to watch it.
I'm pretty sure that I watched this on Tubi as well, and it's gotten a lot of criticism for how scatterbrained it is and how it doesn't really have an identity because it dips its toes in so many different subgenres. But I think that was one of the aspects that I liked so much about it. Yeah, I definitely recommend Deadly Blessing on Tubi. I'll give it 3 stars as well. I can't remember what I originally gave it on Letterbox, but three and a
I'm
half.
seeing right here on your letterbox. You gave it 4, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, then 4. Let's
Must
go
have
with
really
four
enjoyed it.
stars. It must have been fairly
Two of
impressed
our
me.
listeners, Mike Burns and his wife Darcy, though, they thought it was 3 stars. Shout out to both of you guys. I know you're listening.
Very cool. Yeah, so definitely check it out. Wes Craven, Deadly Blessing, 4 stars for me on Tubi. Keeping the train rolling. Killer Kelly, one last round. What you got for us, baby?
I watched this new one that's on Hulu called Clock. Written and directed by Alexis Jacknow. Jacknow? Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
I'd rather Jack later.
She also directed. Oh no, she was an admissions assistant on Truth or Dare. And that's the only one I recognize. But this movie was weird. Although the main character definitely resonated with me. The story follows a woman in her late 30s. She's, successful, happily married, but everybody around her is popping out babies, and they're all telling her, like, you need to get on this. Your fucking biological clock's ticking, hence the name Clock. So, like the main character, me, I'm also in my late 30s and have never had the urge to want children. And everybody thinks that's real fucking weird in this movie. They're like, no, you gotta have kids. And they're trying to pressure her into it. And this movie is kind of like, the whole thing is kind of about that whole logic right there. Like women being pressured into having children and shit. So her husband, she's had like a history of breast cancer in her family, and her husband recommends this doctor she goes to. The doctor gets her talking about her biological clock and recommends this other doctor. She goes to this other doctor and like starts getting into this like, what's the word? Therapy that hasn't been done yet. Like there's a word for this.
Experimental?
Yeah, experimental therapy. Thank you. Yeah. And this like experimental therapy, just a little while into it, she starts hallucinating heavily, and she can't really tell like her real life from the hallucination she's seeing. She starts seeing this really weird, like super tall woman that's creepy as shit. A grandfather clock with its nonstop like tick-tocking, and a bunch of dead spiders and shit like that. All of these things are very I don't know, metaphoric for things in the movie. It was all right. It was kind of weird and confusing. The imagery was pretty good. I don't know. It lost me a couple times, but I thought it was all right. I'd give it a 3. It was trippy. It was a really trippy movie. It has a lot to do with like mind control and this experimental therapy, and like, is this what she really wants? Does she really want the kid, or is this like somebody else that's in her head, or is it the therapy? It's kind of a crazy, slightly confusing concept. I don't know. I might need to watch it again, but I don't think I will.
I love that. I think I need to watch it again, but I'm not going to. So how many stars would you give that baby?
I'd give it a 3. It's better than average, but it's not much better than average.
And it's on Amazon?
Hulu.
Hulu. Yes, I'd actually, I thought about watching this in the past. I might check it out now. It sounds weird. I like weird things.
It is weird.
Cool. Mm-hmm. So Clock on Hulu, 3 stars from Killer Kelly. Mm-hmm. Chris, have you seen this at all or nah?
I have not.
Yet?
No.
Nah.
I think this thing's like brand new.
Yeah, it is brand new, 2023. Yeah, I think it just came out.
Cool. Well, with the last movie talk before our guest comes on, I would like to talk about my favorite movie of 2023 so far. And I know you guys have seen it, but I am so excited I cannot not talk about it. It is the horror, comedy, action, fantasy, all of the above, laugh riot from beginning to end, action-packed gore fest.
I know what you're going to say.
I do
Renfield.
Too. Yes.
Oh my goodness gracious, gravy.
This was a fun one.
Holy guacamole. I love this movie. And like the trailer does not do its justice.
No.
It is so funny, so gory. It's, it's got something for everyone too, because it's funny and it's action packed. And I could go on and on about how much I love Renfield. But yeah, so far it's my favorite film of 2023. And the cast is you've everybody's seen the trailer with Nicolas Cage and
Mhm.
Aquafina and Nicholas Hoult. You know that this is an amazing film. And you kind of everybody's seen the trailer, I'm sure, so they kind of know what it's about. Renfield, Dracula's henchman. He's part of a lunatic asylum for decades, longs for a life away from the Count. He doesn't like being demanded to bring him blood anymore, and he's going to a support group. Things just sort of snowball from there. There's so many great moments, and I'm sure we could do a whole episode on just
We
this
could.
film, but I could
I would
not.
like to.
What's that?
I would like to. I think we still can.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just stop talking now.
No, go ahead.
No, go for it. You're not
just talking
spoiling
about
it.
But like when it comes and like kind of hits streaming or something, let's do a full episode about it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we'll
because
do
we
a
all loved
spoiler
it that
later.
much.
We do love it.
Yes. Two like not spoilers, but two things that really punched my clock on this one that I popped for in the audience, which there was only like 5 people in the audience.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a scene outside of the punk rockers hideout where the cops are investigating the murders, and on the wall are lyrics to Operation Ivy's Take Warning. And
Oh,
one of the
nice.
cops turns to
I
the other
didn't
one and
notice.
goes, "What is this?
Take
Some kind of
warning.
warning?" And I
Take
laughed
warning.
so
Take
hard.
warning.
Yeah,
I love
I
that.
laughed so hard because, and no, of course, the other people in the theater like, "What's so funny about that?" I thought that was great because they went on for like at least good 5 minutes talking about 90s ska bands and like the difference between voodoo glow skulls, and I was like, this is so niche, so specific that there's gonna be just that one specific theater goer that gets these references, but they don't care because it's just such a madcap, wonderful film. I love that scene. I love that spot. And then the other spot that really got me was there's a big, huge fight scene where the SWAT team and the cops and everybody are called in to get Aquafina and Renfield. And, he ate some bugs and they're fighting their way out. And he punches one of them and it turns into an X-ray, and you can see all the bones breaking inside of the SWAT team officer. And if you're a fan of like the old Street Fighter movies, like karate kung fu films, that is a spot that is a direct nod to the first Street Fighter film. And I popped for that. I was like, oh shit, there's that. And that's probably something that your casual moviegoer isn't going to pick up on. And there's a million other like little tidbits that, like you said, Chris, we could do a whole episode on Renfield.
Like, I really liked it.
Sorry, I would like to point out, he is not talking about Street Fighter, the video game. He is talking about Sonny fucking Chiba. And if you don't know about Sonny goddamn Chiba, you best learn something and go watch Street Fighter or Sister Street Fighter. Go on.
Yes, it's the first Sonny Chiba Street Fighter film where there's an X-ray punch where you can see the main character's fist break bones inside of his adversary's body. Which, if it wasn't for True Romance, I wouldn't have had any interest in the Street Fighter films. But now I own all of them and the Sister Street Fighter films because I'm a big fucking nerd. But Renfield, I'm pretty sure it's still in the theater. You should go see it ASAP. Go watch it in the theater. If not, you can buy it on Amazon Prime direct for $19.99. And I highly suggest you see this movie ASAP. It's my favorite movie of 2023 so far. 5 stars all day. You guys, I know you've seen it too. If you want to chime in real quick before we get on with our interview with our guest, Fred Vogel, go for it.
I really like the opening sequence that's in black and white. Nick Cage fucking nailed the Bela Lugosi look. Like, he looks just fucking like him in the beginning of that. I love it.
Well, I will say that we should wait till we do an episode about this to talk about spoilers.
We will talk about Renfield later.
But I loved this movie. I give me more of these movies, these horror comedies that you haven't been making in forever. Like they're coming out, they're going straight to like streaming, but no one's like making the Nick Cage go into theaters horror comedy like this. and it is just a buttload of fun. Like it has a charm to it that's just so hard to not have fun, almost like Behind the Mask or something, where like it's so cheeky and it's almost laughing at itself, but it's still like is very proficient at what it's doing. You just can't help but fall under its spell and love it. I give it 4.5. Love Renfield.
Yeah,
Can't wait to watch it again. And
Mm-hmm.
when it hits streaming, we will definitely do an episode
I'll
about
probably
it.
buy it, honestly.
Very cool. Well, now that wraps up what we've been viewing. And next up, we've got our guest, Fred Vogel. Very exciting. Let's get to it, shall we?
And now for our feature presentation.
Whoa, 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 everybody. Very exciting. We're back, and we've got a very, very special guest, underground sensation, the very amazing, outstanding, legendary Fred Vogel, filmmaker extraordinaire. Say hi to everybody, Fred.
Hi, everybody.
There we go. Yeah, here in Real Violand, we're big fans of Fred. I've known him for quite a few years, and I know that you're mostly known for the August Underground trilogy, but you've got a lot of other films under your belt, and a brand new one that just hit the airwaves, hit the what you call it, the cyber underground. You can get physical copies of it, but for those fans out there in Real Violand that aren't really acquainted with you, could you break it down for them real quick? Who you are, what you're about, what you've done?
Sure. My name is Fred Vogel. I am, like you said, known for making the August Underground trilogy. I have a company called Toe Tag. We're known for making movies with a lot of the most realistic, brutal special makeup effects. Been doing that for over 20 years. And in 2018, I finished my latest movie, The Final Interview, which is like my first Fred Vogel movie and not a Toe Tag picture. But just known for creating a lot of, really nasty, content in the underground, wanting to spread the sickness.
I like it. I love it. Give me more of it. The extreme gore, the extreme violence. When I think the first one of your movies I bought was August Underground's Mortem, and trying to explain to people that it wasn't real was was hard enough. And you show it to people, you gotta show it to everybody. And I've been a fan ever since. What was it like getting started doing something that really hadn't been done to that extreme before? How did you get that going? Like, what was your inspiration?
Well, I've loved horror movies ever since I was 5 years old. That's all I wanted to do was, make horror movies. And, growing up in the 80s, I had a lot of great influences, Tom Savini, Fangoria Magazine, Garbage Pail Kids. I mean, there was just so much nastiness in the 80s that infected my brain and inspired me so much. So I kind of never steered off that path. And, I went to school to become a special effects artist in Pittsburgh because of George Romero and Tom Savini and, and Bruno Sammartino. So I moved out of New Jersey and headed up to Pittsburgh and fell in love with the city and was just like, this is something where I can kind of like put my stake in the ground and try to do something different. So when I was teaching at the Tom Savini Makeup School at the time, I wanted to make my first movie, and my first movie was August Underground. And August Underground is kind of like the cinema verite style of these serial killers going around, recording their exploits. And it got a lot of recognition because at the time, in 2001, there really wasn't the found footage movement like there is today, where there's a lot of found footage films. It was just pretty much the Blair Witch Project, which came out a year prior, and then August Underground, which August Underground was like the nasty found footage movie, where Blair Witch was the people-friendly found footage movie. Because of August Underground, it kind of opened a lot of doors to, meeting a lot of people that wanted to make sick and crazy art, like Killjoy from Necrophagia. And because of Killjoy from Necrophagia, he wanted to do music videos, and that music video ended up turning into August Underground's Mortem. And then that was actually Toe Tag's first release on DVD. So that's why a lot of people might think that's the first one. But it's actually the second one in the trilogy. So, you know, that's kind of how it all started. I really wanted to show, you know, how talented we were as special effects artists. And I just wanted to make movies that shocked and, you know, provoked the viewer. And August Underground was that avenue at that time.
You know, I had acquired, as we were talking earlier, a very early copy of August Underground when you did the 200 VHS. And at the time, I was living at what was known as the Collingwood Art Center here in town. It was an artist commune where it was like a lot of open-minded people. And like I was the room people would go to that people like were watching the dog shit movies or all the weird stuff or like the horror movies. You'll come in on like watch Street Trash or From Beyond or something like that. And when I got that, I watched it with my buddy Nate, and it was one of the first ones where I was like, you know what, lock the door. I don't want random people wandering in on this one because it might be a little hard to fucking explain. Like it had a real intensity and grit that wasn't really around back then. You know, I mean, there was shocking stuff on film, but it never really felt as real as you guys made it feel. And the special effects definitely lent into that because nothing felt like there was no like cuts in between, that like it really looked realistic and in camera. So, you know, it was definitely, you could tell like a different style of film that you were moving into.
It was a style of film that we were pretty much creating, you know, like we didn't know if it was going to work. You know, at that time in 2000, 2001, anything shot on video looked shitty shot on video. So it was, you know, an artist's way of making it look degraded. Let's make it look how a real home video would look. If the movie had too much structure like a film, it wouldn't come off as real. And the whole idea for August Underground was like you're actually watching something real. And I think that's what scared a lot of people, because when August Underground first started making its way out for reviews, people were shocked because they thought it was real. They thought I was really like, you know, out there brutalizing people and killing people. And they would send the review back and be like, get this the fuck out of here. And it wasn't until Rue Morgue magazine kind of like got behind it and was just like, wow, this is something that's really heavy. And, you know, they ended up putting me on the cover as like the most disturbing movie ever made. And they did this really big article written by Mike Watt, a Pittsburgh guy here, who previously wrote it was pretty much based off of what he wrote for like a city paper talking about me. It was the first time anybody's ever heard of August Underground, has heard of FRED VOGEL, you know, and he kind of took that and showed them that, and that's how they built, you know, the article for Rue Morgue. And that changed my life. You know, like I woke up when that issue came out, it was like Rob Zombie's House of 1,000 Corpses issue. And everybody was waiting for that movie because, you know, that movie had its own problems too. Like the studio, this is too fucking heavy. We don't want to put this out yet. So everybody was waiting for that. And then they read the sidebar and it's like August Underground, the most disturbing movie ever made. It like got a lot of people's curiosity going. And, you know, at that time, you know, the internet wasn't what it was as it is today, you know, so like being written up in a magazine showed the legitimacy of it, and people really started to be like, wait a minute, like, what is this? Who is this guy?
That is how I came across the VHS, was that article, which led me to, back then, the web wasn't the web we see now. You did have a website, but, you know, it was a very bare bones thing. And I think I had to email you to get one, if I remember correctly. It was a while ago, but I think I had to like send an email directly through the website that you had set up, like, hey, can I get this? And you said like, yeah, send X amount of money here, and then you ended up mailing me one. But like it did add to the mystique of it, because there's this article and you can't really see footage of it, and then, you know, like here I am in this random website sending this random guy money, and then this VHS comes and it's got a bloody toe tag in it. So like, you know, like it added to like the ambiance of it, you know what I'm saying? Like it felt like, should I have this? Like what the fuck's going on? Am I doing something wrong? You know, like,
no, you were doing something wrong, and that was the beautiful thing, and that's like the beautiful thing about that era, and especially a little bit before that time. Like, you know, like I'm sure we're all cinephiles here, right? We love movies, And, how we discovered a lot of these weird and interesting movies was ordering online or tape trading with people from a little, thing in the back of Fangoria magazine or just, fanzines or punk rock zines and, getting G.G. Allen tapes to Cannibal Holocaust or Faces of Death and, things like that. So I'm kind of, I'm glad that I was able to be able to people to reach out to me, get something personal from me. I would I'd write a little letter on those VHSs and draw a little picture and really make it personal. And I think because how personal I made it, the more disturbing it was when you watched it for the first time. And, for a movie to really get under your skin, it's a hard thing. We're kind of desensitized as fans of horror movies. But again, August Underground was just really different because of how real it was and because it didn't turn away. The camera didn't turn away. You were in there with these characters. You were experiencing the smells and the depravity and the violence that was going on in that movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think I seen it at the Collingwood Art Center with you, Chris, when you first had it. You're
one of the few people I showed it to.
Yeah.
I was weary about who I would show it to because I had to live with these people,
I was trying to find a copy of it to watch before this, but I don't think I have seen it since then. But it definitely made like an impact. Scar, if you will,
That's great. That's great. I love to scar people. For August Underground is 22 years old now. It was made in 2001. So I mean, it's got some history, and now that Unearthed Films is going to be releasing it on Blu-ray, it's kind of I felt it's so close, and the only way you were able to get those movies is through me and Toe Tag. Yeah, and now that a whole new generation is discovering it, I'm really stoked about it. So I can't. Every day there's not a kid that's a 16-year-old kid reaching out to me that's like, oh my god, I'm sorry, but I had to bootleg it, but I can't wait to buy it when it comes out. It's the fucking sickest movie, and I'm glad that it is what it is.
You mentioned Unearthed Films re-releasing it on collector's edition Blu-ray. Now I've been a fan of theirs for a while. All their weird extreme cinema that they put out. How did you get in contact with them, or did they get in contact with you?
So Unearthed Films and Toe Tag started the same year. So Stephen Byro and I have known each other for 20 years. And August Underground was something that Unearthed always wanted. It was just that Toe Tag was like, well, we put out our own movies. That's how it is. We're an underground production company. If you want our movies, you get them through us. And that worked for a long time. But then, as we get older, real jobs need to happen. And, I got to make car payments and house payments and things like that. And it just got too hard for me to, be packing all these movies or putting all this pressure on my wife to pack all these movies and get all this stuff together. And, Unearthed, they house a lot of the greatest disturbing movies. They have Serbian film, the guinea pig movies, and it just seemed like a perfect home for August Underground. And I knew that Steven was going to take care of it and give it the love that it needs, and that's what they're doing. So I'm really happy that Toe Tag and Unearthed are working together on this.
Have you ever been approached by Shudder or Screambox or anybody about trying to acquire the rights to these things? I was curious if they would even attempt that.
You know what? It's not really. I mean, I've had a few inquiries about it, but the movies have such a stigma behind them. That they're not for everybody. Yeah, and I'd rather it be that way. Even though Unearthed is going to be able to give it a bigger push than it's ever had, I still want it to be something that people have to seek out and get. It was never about the money. If it was about the money, I wouldn't have made these fucking things. It's about the art. It's about creating something that is a true underground cult film that you have to find and you have to seek out and you have to show your friends and you have to have sleepovers and be like, hey, we're watching Faces of Death and August Underground tonight. You know what I mean? To me, that's
I
way
your
more
parents.
important than, being on Amazon Prime and there's August Underground and I'm getting a nickel for each fucking, view. I don't care about that. It's more important for the people who want to, seek out these kind of movies to see them.
Yeah, that's totally understandable and very exciting, though. On the other hand, to have Unearthed putting out those movies, I know that I have the 3-disc Blu-ray collection autographed by you. But moving forward, your first movie with more of a linear narrative, The Red Sin Tower in 2006. How did you come about doing something that was a bit different than the previous films you had done?
So, I didn't want to be the snuff movie guy. I just happened to make the snuff movie that started to gain attention. And it was a business decision to really make August Underground's Mortem and, start this wave of what we were doing there. But as a filmmaker, I wanted to show people that I really know how to make a movie. And we just got done doing Murder Set Pieces, a film that we did effects for Nick Palumbo out in Las Vegas, where we did these really brutal special makeup effects. And we had a little bit of money coming off that project. And we came back to Pittsburgh and we opened up our first studio. And we were like, we're going to make a movie now. We're going to really try to make something different. And that's how The Red Sin Tower was born. I love slasher films. Jeremy loved possession movies. So we knew that we wanted to bring both of those elements into the film. And, now that we had the studio, we were able to build sets. So everything in The Red Sin Tower was built inside our studio in Pittsburgh. And, we did a really great 5-disc special edition of The Red Sin Tower called the Possession Edition. And on there's a 2-hour documentary on how we made The Red Sin Tower. If you guys haven't seen it, I'm so proud of that documentary. It's awesome. And it really shows everything from how we casted the movie, to building the sets, to, the premieres and everything that happened with it. So, I love The Red Sin Tower. It's one of my favorite movies. Worked really, really hard on it. Toe Tag, it was kind of like Toe Tag's way of showing you hey, we can make fucking anything and still keep the brutality that is part of the catalyst behind us. We didn't want to take any shortcuts just because we were making a more linear style film. We wanted to show, demons coming out of vaginas and, brutal axe stabbings and things like that. So there was, we weren't going to take any shit. We just wanted to come out hitting us just as hard as we could, like in an August Underground movie, but we wanted to just put it into a linear storyline and show them that we can make, something more kind of our way of mainstream.
Red Sin Tower, I have to say, is my personal favorite film of yours.
Thank you.
I saw it right when it came out. I think you guys had a street team or something, and my buddy Pat was on it. You sent a bunch of little posters and stuff, and then we ended up ordering the copies. And it that style of movie, the where it's kind of your Night of the Demons or Convent or Unnameable, where it's a group of people stuck in a situation with a supernatural. That kind of stuff is my shit.
Yeah.
And you guys went very kinetic and frantic with it. It's extremely gory, and it has almost a flavor of Evil Dead to it, just a little bit.
Sure, because the Evil Dead is a huge inspiration. Night of the Demons,
yeah.
The Exorcist. There's a lot of that stuff that's we're just fans of, and we wanted to kind of put it into a blender, mix a little Toe Tag in there, and then come out with something different. Building a street team behind it, like you said, again, Toe Tag is like a punk band. We were total, do it yourself, go out there and, flyer the city, do whatever we could to get people to be turned on about these movies. And, again, at that moment in time, Red Sin Tower was a huge, way bigger budget than we've ever, had. We worked for days without sleep trying to make that happen. I had these kids that were the actors living in my office for days, because it was just I never shot anything so big. I didn't know all right, what if they go home? They need to stay here. So it's all right. You just pack a backpack with your clothes in it, and you stay in the office, and we'll get to you when we get to you.
Back to shooting.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of learning. It was the first time I ever had a sound guy on a movie, and I learned so much of like how to take room tone and how sound works in a film, and then taking the movie to have a sound design done with it. Where in the August Underground movies, whatever the sound picks up is what it picks up. So I mean,
the charm of it was
Resident Tower was such a huge growing experience for myself and Toe Tag on how to make movies. And, getting, Scott Hull from Pig Destroyer and Steve Moore from Zombie to do the music. And because of that, Relapse Records gave us all this wonderful music for the movie, and it just made the movie look even bigger. So, I mean, we were just really lucky at the time that people were starting to know us. It's like, oh, this is Toe Tag. They wanted to help us. They really believed in, the underground cause that we were trying to portray and do.
Yeah, when that came out, that was right when like street teams were big for all the bands and stuff like that. But like it also was really huge for like people like myself were like we're trying to find all these crazy and extreme movies and stuff. Is like you had to band together to find them. Like there was always that holy grail tape that you couldn't find and all that everyone was trying to find. Yeah, and it was always coming through that community and that tape trading, and that's how I came across. Well, the article but then, Redson Towers came up because of the street team, because it wasn't like I would have known you released a movie any other way, because if it wasn't in Fangoria, Rue Morgue, the internet wasn't really a thing. You had to either find it on a shelf or somebody had to tell you,
Yeah.
And the style movies make aren't on shelves, And,
when we had a really great forum on our website back in the day where, people would come from all over the world and talk these movies, and it was just a great way of promoting it. Again, total, punk rock, Toe Tag.
So anyway, we love all your movies, and everything you've done is amazing. So gory, so extreme. And we just got to check out your latest film, The Final Interview. And now, this isn't a Toe Tag film. This is a Fred Vogel jam. And if you hadn't told me that the same guy who directed all those previous films directed this film, I wouldn't believe you, because this is, in my opinion, this is your best film that you've done. You can see the maturity in it. It's beautiful and it's thought provoking without the excess of the previous films. Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. Could you talk about The Final Interview a bit?
Yeah, sure. So the last Toe Tag movie was in 2010. It was called Cella Tersica. It has Camille Keaton from the original I Spit on Your Grave. And after we made that movie, we lost our big studio that we had. We used to have this beautiful 7,000 square foot monster studio, and unfortunately, we had a shitty landlord, and it kind of halted the machine. We ended up having to move out of Pittsburgh for a little while to Ohio, and then once we recovered from that drama, Jeremy Cruz went off to Los Angeles, and my wife Shelby and I decided to stay in Pittsburgh and open up a storefront, a Toe Tag storefront. So as that was happening, Toe Tag was on a hiatus, a much needed hiatus, because again, Toe Tag was like pushing this big giant fucking boulder to nowhere. You know what I mean? It was just like keep pushing, and we're just getting tired, and we really all needed to take this next step in our lives. We were all getting older. And eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches all day just wasn't, healthy for us. So we decided, let's try something new. So over that period of time, I started working on a few projects. I wanted to try to do a thing called Pittsburgh Body Removal, and that's about the guys that pick up the dead here in Pittsburgh. And because of that movie, I met a producer named Ross Putman. And he loved the idea of Pittsburgh Body Removal, and I was really getting close to helping me to make this movie. And we were dealing with some serious money. This was going to be a really big deal. And unfortunately, the money kind of fell through, a lot to do with my past work. You know, like when you have August Underground as a calling card where you're cutting off nipples or killing kids or fucking that kind of shit, you know, it's, or if you even just look me up on the internet, you know, it's like black or white. You know what I mean? Either Fred's great or he's a fucking hack or he's, you know, he's awesome or he's a piece of shit, like whatever. So the money fell through and I'm like, wow, it's been like 6 years since I've made a movie. I need to do something. Creatively, I was going crazy. I needed to do something. So I reached out to my friend Rebecca Swan, who she co-directed Maskhead and did Maskhead with us as Scott Swan. And she's also my writing partner. We write a lot of stuff together. She did Pittsburgh Body Removal with me. And then I had this idea. I was at a Chinese restaurant and I look up at the TV and there's like Larry King or something on the TV. And I just had this idea. I'm like, what if I make this movie about a killer on death row, but this is like the lost tape of his interview. Like it's been missing for years because of something terrible happens. So I get home and I write, you know, a character outline of Oliver Ross and Darius Tidman, the two main characters in the film. And then I sent it off to Rebecca, and she loved the idea and wrote this amazing script. And I'm like, you know, we can make this for like $10,000. I'm like, I can do this for $10,000. Well, when I get the script back, there's a female character in it now, and I'm like, well, now I need to I have to hire another like real actor for this. So I needed Oliver to be a movie star. I needed Rhonda to be a movie star, but I knew that I wanted my buddy Damian Marusak, who was in Cella Turcica, to be the killer Darius Tidman. And because of that, the budget kind of like went up. And I started to get a little worried, but Ross was just like, listen, he's just like, I will work on the contract. So it became my first SAG movie. And we were able to reach out to a lot of people that I never thought I'd be able to even talk to. And that's how we got Granger Hines, who was in Steven Spielberg's Lincoln and the Coen Brothers' Buster Scruggs, as well as Diane Franklin, who is one of my favorite 80s icons, Last American Virgin, Amityville Horror 2, Better Off Dead, films like that. So that's kind of how it all started. And we built the set in Pittsburgh. And I was having my production designer build a jail because I didn't have access to a jail. I didn't even know how to get access to a jail. But we ended up finding a jail because David Fincher was shooting Mindhunter here in Pittsburgh. And
oh, really?
Nice.
We ended up shooting at the same prison Mindhunter was shot at. And just to rent the prison for one day costs more than all 3 August Underground films put together. You know what I mean? It was just for one day was just, it was crazy, but we did it. And I think it made the movie look like $1 million.
Yeah. I watched that one actually right before we started recording today. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
What I
I'm
really
very
like
proud of it.
It is pretty much hinged on 2 main performances, you know, your interviewer and your the killer, and the performances themselves are extremely good. You know, like if the wrong people would have been in that part, you know, wouldn't have been able to hold your attention, because most of it really is like a cat and mouse game between 2 people.
Absolutely.
And trying to figure out motives and like where they're going at it, like figuring these people out, and like, you know, that you feed them like tidbits of like what's kind of going on behind the scenes with these people as the story progresses. But it almost felt like watching like a David Mamet stage play, you know, like just like really 2 strong actors just kind of
absolutely,
you know, like going back and forth at it, and to see like where you have come with that in comparison to, you know, like where you started, it is very much night and day, and it really shows where you've come as a filmmaker. Like I really enjoyed this movie.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, you know, like it was very much like a play. You know, you only see the character, the other, like the makeup artist, and all the other people are kind of like off to the side. You never really see them until I want you to see them.
Yeah,
because it's all really about these 2 main characters. But you know, one of the reasons why the movie jumps from like a cinematic look to the actual video broadcast was so you didn't get bored.
Yeah.
And then having Rhonda in the ear was also another way of just not having two talking heads talk to each other. You needed to have that, that other voice, that the godly voice. She's the one that kind of like helps egg things on, keeps things rolling. If you're not getting something in the story, she's the one that kind of fills you in and lets you know what's going on with all that. And plus, it's just the dynamic between the Oliver Ross character and Rhonda as ex-husband and wife. There's that drama there that adds to that as well.
Mm-hmm. But the other thing I really enjoyed about it is, like you said, she's like the voice in the ear, and when you do see her, it's just pretty much like heard on the microphone, but it's pretty much just these people eye to eye, and you bookend it with these great, what feels like it is a period piece.
Yeah.
But it almost feels like a Taxi Driver, beginning with like the jazz music and like the vintage coloring and driving into it. It really puts you in like the world of it, but it also I think it holds people's attention as well because it feeds into that fascination with like the serial killer culture and murder porn that people are used to watching Mindhunter is on. Well, now we got to watch all the Ed Kemper interviews. Well, Dahmer was just on. Now we got to watch all the Dahmer interviews. Like people are fascinated by that stuff. So you add a storyline and a narrative within that too. And it's a fascinating film. It's really good.
Well, thank you.
It is. I really liked how, because most of it is just two men at a table, and somehow you found a way to keep that engaging throughout the entire movie. And you're right about the girl in the ear, the woman in the ear and stuff, because that did really help with that. Yeah, that was good.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was very lucky because Granger Hines is such a talented actor. He only had 11. When I hired him, we were 11 days out from shooting. So we only had 11 days to learn this script. So instead of taking the flight from New York City to Pittsburgh, which is only an hour and a half, he decided to take a train, and just so he can learn the script a little bit more. And then Damian Marusak, he had the script for over a year. So I mean, he knew that thing frontwards and backwards. So when Granger came to town, I had at least 3 days of rehearsal time with Damien and Granger. So those guys got to spend time together and really work together and learn each other. The first day, the movie was shot in 9 days, which is crazy. Yeah. But, that's how professional and amazing these actors were. We shot 18 pages the first day. Literally, these guys were, off book, just going and going and going. I had 2 camera setups and was able just to capture everything in these 2 days and really make it feel real. As these guys were, as we would shoot a full, 12-hour day, you could see them, they would just go through the whole script. They would just keep going and going and going and going. And wow. It really added to the characters, to the sweat, to everything. All the different characters, like the makeup artist and the sound guy and the camera people, they were actually the sound guy and the makeup artist. So everybody was real that was going on there. I just dressed in period clothes. And, the look, and the movie takes place in 1983. And in 1983, it wasn't, how young people now think of the 80s as all these neon colors and it was very wood tones and earth tones and the music style. I didn't want it to be synthy. I think it kind of becomes cliche. Is my movie takes place in the 80s. Let me have the synth music in it. Well, movies in 1983 didn't have that. Yeah, we're still trying to do big scores. You think of movies like The Outsiders or films like that. They had these big orchestrated scores, and Paul Joyce, who did the music for the film, did such a wonderful job. I think the music in the movie is just so great. That's why I wanted to put it in with that special edition that we did and have that soundtrack in there so people could really enjoy the soundtrack, because I just think it's so great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one for sure.
Thank you.
It really set the mood. If that taxi would have been driven up to Duran Duran, it would have been an entirely different movie.
That's true.
No, for sure. You know, and it's funny because like that taxi cab just happened to happen because I tried to get this, not like, you know, a 1978 Lincoln Town car with a cell phone, you know, with an old, not a cell phone, but an old car phone. And I bought a car phone on eBay, and I was trying to lock down this car, and I couldn't get this car. But the inside of the prison, like when you see the cab would come in, that's actually Yellow Cab in Pittsburgh. And inside Yellow Cab was that vintage taxi cab, and they let us use that taxi cab. And I just thought it added a whole new element to the movie. And it, you know, it kind of like gave me a little bit of stuff that I love, like the movie, you know, Taxi Driver, and getting that feel of that cab coming in and driving slowly with that great saxophone music in the beginning of the film. I just thought it really sets the tone for the film, where, you know, for the first time I was really able to have that. You know, the Redson Tower has a lot of that kind of stuff too, but you know, really you know, the final interview, I was really able to orchestrate everything the way that I wanted to, you know, because it was very well prepared. You know, when, you know, making a movie in 10 days, I can only afford Granger for these many days. I can only afford Diane for these many days. So I had to like be on my game. There was no like, hey, we'll get it tomorrow. No worries. You know, fuck that. It was just like, it was go time. And with such a limited crew, it's a family. You know, everybody there, you know, that's my family. Everybody who worked on that are all people that I love. So I think that's why it worked out to my benefit. It was definitely one of the funnest movies I've ever made, the less stressful movies I've ever made, because of that, because of having all that planning and really being able to, like, I was able to take that time of all those years of having time off to come back to something and not just like rush into trying to make a movie to get it ready for a convention or any of that old shit that I used to do. You know, I had the time to really put love into it.
With that being said, has this played like film festivals? Has it done the festival circuit? Is there any way somebody can see this like in a theater?
So, you know, I did a really expensive color correction. I took it out to Los Angeles because I wanted the movie to look like a Pittsburgh 80s movie, like Flashdance or All the Right Moves. And I spent all this money to do this really beautiful color correction because I wanted, when it played on the big screen, I wanted it to look amazing. And my cat's playing with a toy out there. I can hear his little fish moving. But anyway, as soon as the movie started doing film festivals, I was only able to do them for about 3 months before COVID hit. And then it was just like, we're going to watch your movie on the computer, on a laptop. And I was just like, fuck that. I spent all this money to make this movie look great on the big screen, and now everybody's going to have a chance to watch it on the computer. Just wasn't having it. And I really didn't, you know, I wasn't expecting COVID to go on so long. And next thing, a year goes by. And it's like, now, you know, I made this movie, and now it's like another year has gone by and nobody's seen it yet. So over COVID, I just started working really hard to put out this really great collector's edition, this 3-disc collector's edition, the Blu-ray, the DVD, and the CD with all these little, you know, wonderful renderings of the characters and things like that. And that was the way that I was going to get it out to people. I'd love to still show it in the theater. A lot of people still haven't seen it.
Yeah,
you know, and it's been a few years, so that's why I'm always so happy to talk about it, because a lot of people haven't seen it. You know, a lot of my other movies get overshadowed by the August Underground films because of this, you know, the sheer power of the mystique behind them. But I'm so proud of the final interview. I want more people to see it. That's why I'm so glad we're talking about it today.
And they can purchase it at a website, which is finalinterview.com, correct?
The Final Interview Movie.com.
Finalinterviewmovie.com. You can get physical editions. You can get a download. You can get posters. I believe you got T-shirts too, right?
Yep. And, you know, there's only 1,983 copies, which that's how many we started with, but there's not many left. So before, you know, you miss out and you're paying $400 for one of my movies, like what happens with a lot of my films is that, you know, we don't make a lot of them, so they become super rare, become super expensive. Get it now for $50, you know, before you're paying all that money, you know. And I hate that. I hate the fact that you know, a lot of my movies go out of print, and then you can't get them for, you know, they're like $300. You know, it's crazy.
Well, I'm super glad that we touched base with you, and that you actually brought the final interview to our attention, because I think if we hadn't slipped into your DMs and been like, hey, we'd like to do an interview with you, I hadn't really thought about checking it out, and it's absolutely my favorite film by you now. Like everybody said, it's two people talking, but yet it's engaging to the point that it held my attention more than a movie with 3, 4, 5 times the budget, with bigger production values. The cast, everything that you have going on in this film is so amazing. I love it, and I would like to encourage everybody to go to that website, finalinterviewmovie.com. If you're not going to spend the $50 for the physical copy, which you should, at least spend the $10 for the digital copy, because you're going to thank us later, because this will be your favorite movie for a long time.
No, thank you for talking. So, you know, appreciating it and digging it. It's again, it was a labor of love. It took a lot of time to get it right and make this movie right, you know, but I couldn't have been more lucky to have such an amazing cast and such an amazing crew. And, you know, and again, it's, you know, showing people that, you know, I've matured as a filmmaker. You know, when I made August Underground, I was 24 years old, you know, and now I'm in my mid 40s and, I guess late 40s. I don't know. But, you know, I really want to make more personal films, and I'm able to do that as Fred Vogel's, you know, doing what I do now. I really I hope that I get a chance to come back and make a toe tag movie, but, you know, all the stars need to align. You know, we all need to get back together to, you know, bring the band back together to make a toe tag movie. And it, you know, it has to have that sickness to it. You know what I mean? We have to go there. So that'll be exciting when we're able to do that.
Absolutely. One thing I'd like to point out as well, I noticed on your website, if you do buy the download and you decide that you do want to buy the DVD after, I believe you do give the what you paid for the download off on the DVD.
Absolutely.
Correctly?
Yeah.
So if you watch the movie and decide you want to buy it, that $10 you spend on the stream does go towards the DVD as well. So go pick that thing up after you watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you guys see the ending coming?
No.
Did I trick you?
No, I thought something else was going on.
Good.
Yeah, me too. Me too, actually.
I don't want to go into my theory like on the recording, because I don't want, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want, you know, to say like, oh, well, that's not it. And
yeah.
But I thought it was going in a different direction. I was pleasantly surprised.
Thank you. You know, it's really hard. You know, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think a lot of movies today kind of blow it in the third act. You know, there's a lot of really great first and second acts to film, and then all of a sudden it's just like, what do we do now? How do we end this movie?
Yep.
And you know, when Rebecca first did the script, it was definitely more of a Hollywood type ending, and I was just like, this is, I'm not a Hollywood guy. This needs to be a Fred Vogel ending. So yeah. I'm glad it worked out. We can discuss it after this, but you know, I'm glad you guys, you know, kept you guessing.
I found it a bit jarring. It was like,
yes,
it's like do, then bam, like you get punched in the face, and that was a good thing. That, yeah, like you said, it's a Fred Vogel ending, and I definitely appreciated it for that. But before we let you go, do you have anything else coming up that you're working on that you want to talk about?
You know, right now I'm writing and trying to raise money for you know, a couple projects that I got going on. So, you know, really we'll see what happens. I'm really busy right now trying to get all this supplemental material for these August Underground releases with Unearthed. So that's taking up a lot of my time. But you know, I can't wait to make my next picture. It's just, you know, it's very hard at this level, you know, to make something. And now, you know, with the final interview, being able to work with SAG actors and kind of keep moving up in my career, that's kind of really where I want to keep going, is make bigger movies with really talented actors and have some really great stories to tell. So I'm sure the next thing you see from me is going to be, a really interesting story with some really great performers.
I believe it. Based on the last one, for sure.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to it as well. And, if you ever have a screening in Chicago, I mean, I would definitely love to be there, or, even talk to some people about getting that done now that theaters are open. And
yeah, I love Chicago. I know I've seen you in Chicago. My wife and I, we go to Chicago.
Yes. We always seem to bump into each other at the same places, Riot Fest and different conventions and movie festivals and such. So yeah, I would love that personally, if I could see this on the big screen or whatever you got coming up next. You guys have anything else you want to ask Fred before we let him go?
I can't think of anything else. I think he's covered most of it. Yeah.
One last thing. Can anyone get the Redson Tower anywhere?
No.
I don't have my copy anymore.
Yeah, I was trying to watch that. That's the one I didn't see.
Yeah.
You watched it with me a long time ago, Kelly.
Did I?
Unfortunately, it's out of print, and we hope to bring, doing the deal with Unearth is kind of like the baby steps. If everything goes well with the August Underground trilogy, I hope to bring more of our catalog to Unearthed and get the movies out to everybody. It's not that we don't want to. It's just, I want, whoever picks it up to nurture it,
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Thank you for giving us your time, man. It's been great talking to you, Fred.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yep.
Anytime, man. Anytime you got something coming up, we'd love to have you on.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I definitely appreciate you joining us here at Real Vile. And in the meantime, I'd like to say, keep it spooky, keep it creepy, and keep it real vile forever. God bless America and send nudes. Hey, all you cats and kittens, all you ladies and lady killers out there in Real Vile land. This is your old pal, Mr. Germ T. Ripper, saying, keep it spooky, keep it creepy, keep it real vile forever. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and share all our content. Ow!